Zobe Sanje Ribata Shazon Demba Devariship, Jidin Jamba Jibun, Kalo Jova Lana, Tata Menam Jedemba Sanje Jumden Demba, Shaja Tuba Lansa, no Chudo Demba Jumden de Jinsheba, Dajamba Yanda, Zobe Sanje Ribata Shazon Demba Devariship, Jidin Jamba Jibun Duba, Kalo Jova Lana, Sanje Jumden Demba Java Shaja Tuba Lansa. 确实叫做结果端把中间的信息和大家不一样的，左边三节这把到小中的忙的或者情况决定，就问这个可能就话那没办法，他没能决定，三节中间的边叫我下节对吧？那上这个确实叫做这样，康这个你做我觉得这样，三节的那工作，那年节点的那说这种的在开发就是长，那么到公安角度说说我一些讲是设计。 차반 제된 somnamma mego gobo chonye choma cha senjo den ba chime da we je sendo da wa je ma cha de je chen da se ba so ma je nyame chen chen choma cha gobo tu je chen den ba tham je chen be den ba so na me de de je je ma cha de ma ta ben de ja cha wa je ge wen ge so de je de na me sho de wa shin je je ma cha chen ne zhe ba la ba da la ra de ne shin ge da ma yin de ge de na ya cha 你把信仰没下进给我不送走过去，让给身体有天天上街的嘛。干嘛让人慢慢的就嘛些个，去不是没那么多的，真的。这些人在这里打，说他们第一，他们这习惯就可能军检查的。俺当拿到7月6这边7月说了，往这个。
To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being. Perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Surata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, subduer from the Shakya. I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O supreme among humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who will rise then, I prostrate. With pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 words, winner of the best, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, the 3 worlds are known. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the teacher having whole understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality. To that Dharma which pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, or perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, the flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from the ocean of suffering, of aging, sickness, and death.
Sanje Jano Zoje Jano No Chaju Bado Dane Jazu. Nagin Jesoje Sonamje Dola Benje Sanje Jubilesh. Sanje Jano Zoje Jano No Chaju Bado Dane Jazu. Nagin Jesoje Sonam. Dola Benje Sanje Jubilesh. Sanje Jano Sonje Jano. Chaju Bado Dane Jazu. Nagin Jesoje Sonam. Dola Benje Sanje Jubilesh.
I go for refuge and tell him land to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I created by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge and tell him land to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I created by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge and tell him land to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit created by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Tamje Jambala Cha, the Monde Dazan Jejum, and the Shinjo Wantajum. Rwanda Shazun, the Mande Varshavan Jidan Jambaju, Sanje Jum, then there's one the Shinjo, Sonanda, Yutum, Givetzawan, Machumis. Severa de Gemazonum Yeteranum Yeshi, Pejasambanum, Chanam Jemaho, Jurimatu. Tona Mediba Meva, Tevemeva, Gobraga, Shero Sigim, Tonam, the woman. Simjetam Yedama, Chanjusamanam Yawa, Pabeka, Yanan, Ichipadum Meva, Sanjay Mijava, Sonamrata, Yanyama Gujeta, Chomiji. Kutsumba Mevan, the Vata, Magoga, Soda, Yama, Sumeva Tadam, Namra. Pumbotana number of Juba, come on, Medem by Jaja Namanda, Jubana Shindu, Yozo, number of Sivale, Juba, Chol, and Giva Yozo, Debata, Jumba, Taju, Sanji Jumlen, Yishin, Nea, young and never Yana, Simjatam Jena Sibe, Sana Shuba, and the Danda Sanji Jumlen, which you may in the Yana. Tabishin, Toma Giva, Pada Giva, Tama Giva, as I was in Rosa, Jeva Yozo, Tama. Yozo Changwa Yang Daba Tongwa Nemeba Tucheba Meba Yawa Dema De Tongwa Na Tuyu Keba Na Jesu Jemne Nije Leba Sube Chundu Wala Leba Tuba Nyarachu Zobe Chanchu To Jowa Cheba Diba Meba Midima Meja Diba Diba Meba Temba Temba Yibu Jowa Cheba Tewa Cheba Kidena Leba Shubu Riba Shubu Chambu Shubu Tuba Shubu Tema Jebe Wezo Jiba Chajebe Wezo Jiba Sona Jebe Jeshinga Yezo Jowa Cheba Jibenezo Juba Kudo, Jibenezo Juba Chembo, Kangi Eden, Jeba Juba, Gabambe, Chebam, Jabani Shished, and Mozobes and Yaman, Tabat and the Chance. So, I think page 322. Page 22 is refuting the opponent's restatement that consciousness without external reality exists. So once again, refuting the consciousness. Consciousness truly exists, but their object does not truly exist. And I consciousness truly exists, then external realities not exist. I think the sensual objects, are not external. It's all, emerge from the potentialities that is in the foundation consciousness. So this has two parts: stating the opponent's position and refuting that position. So their positions, the stating the opponent's positions, having presented their standpoint thus far with the view of all view of still achieving their aim. Cittamatra may once again assert their own standpoint. So in the root text, Cittamatra, the arising of the visual perceptions take place from its own potentialities, wholly and at once. So the whole I consciousness there's nothing to do with any elements or the lights, space, whole at once. It's all coming from the potentialities, which is in the, within the foundational consciousness. So these potentialities, which is the basis of the consciousness, is what is termed physical view organ. So, Sothandic school, Vaibhashika school, Prasangic school, and even the mundane, they understands the physical eye organs. We say is physical, is a form. Right? So then it says, whatever you say is a physical eye organ, that is nothing but potentialities, which is, within the foundation consciousness. So the arising of the visual perceptions or the consciousness take place on the basis of its own potentiality, which exists in the form of imprints placed on the foundation consciousness. So, and this, the one way they were saying that eye organs is, there is no such thing as eye organ. It's all, it's a potentialities. It's the imprints that plays a role of eye organ, which exists in the form of the imprints placed on the foundational consciousness. The potentialities are potentialities that has been imprinted by another consciousness, wholly at once while it is ceasing. And that consciousness, previous consciousness, how it goes to the foundational consciousness and remain there as potentialities is while it is ceasing. When the I consciousness starts disintegrating, so when it completely disintegrates, it ceases to exist, it goes to the foundation consciousness. It just, like a dead leaf falls on the ground, so that all the functional I consciousness, when it ceases, they go back to the foundation consciousness. So if there is the I organ is nothing but that potentialities. It is from the maturing of such potentiality that an I consciousness that resemble a previous visual cognitions later arises. So any present I consciousness that resemble the I consciousness that is ceased previously. And this uninterrupted continuum of the potentialities, which is the basis of the such I consciousness. So usually, other than minority school, they always say we call dagweke, the ruling conditions. I organ is ruling conditions, right? It is named after the I sense power, I consciousness, air consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, named after the I. So which means the consciousness, not just by itself, emerged from the imprints. It's also depending on the I sense power and then the object of the I sense power. So Manavana school says no. So whatever you believe, what you think the I organ, physical, is for us is nothing but potentiality. It's imprints. So imprints is playing role. So that there is kind of uninterrupted continuum of the potentialities. So what is the term? The worldly people, because of their ignorance and the physical eye organs, in actually no eye organ exists that is distinct from the consciousness. So there is no eye consciousness or the eye organ being, separate. So it's just, yeah. Sometimes some master, they explain like when you have a fabric, the blue fabric on the table and put the glass on this, you see the blueness in the glass. So the blueness in the glass are it's not separable. They are not separable. So similarly, minority school, the eye sense power or the eye consciousness is inseparable. So both, and manifest, right, from the imprints at once. Sometimes it seems like when you go walk in the night, probably you don't need flashlight. So you just if there's a potentiality to see, it will just come eye sense power and the eye consciousness both at the same time. It's not relying on the light, it's not relying on any space or things.
Like if I believe hard enough. Yeah.
So if you believe in mind-only school, pray to the mind-only school master, and then try to go in the night without any light.
Yes.
Questions?
Yeah, maybe mind-only school will provide you the all eye consciousness.
It's weird because they say that it's inseparable because this eye sense power comes from the foundational consciousness, but then at the same time, they're saying it's completely separate in a way because it is not.
You mean the potential,
yes,
and the eye consciousness?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there are, potential when it's mature, become the eye consciousness.
Right.
When it's mature, it becomes the eye consciousness and eye sense power.
Right.
So the both sense power and the consciousness are mature from or originated from the imprints. So kind of here, which means mere consciousness, mind only. Now the maturation of the eye sense power and the consciousness from the imprint is not relying on the light. So not relying on the form, not relying on the space, not relying on the elements. Eye consciousness. So the minority school thinks that the worldly people are because of their ignorance. They don't see. As the physical eye organs, in actually eye organ exists that is a distinct. So no eye organ exists that is a distinct from the consciousness. One can extend this point to the other physical sense organ as well. So then air sense power and air consciousness. So the both are mature from the imprints. So it is not relying on someone make noise. So you can, potentialities that is in the foundational consciousness, mature and maturing as the air consciousness and air sense power. Maybe sometimes some people say, my brain is talking to me. Mm-hmm. Some people say, there's something talking in me. So there's nothing outside voice, but inner voice, people they call. So those are maybe they belong to the mind-only school. So in this view, propensity that is the cause for the arising of the I consciousness is its causal condition. Propensity that is the cause for the arising of the I consciousness, its causal condition. It's almost like a barley seed to the barley sprout. The barley seed is the causal condition for the barley sprout. So while the I faculty is its dominant conditions or the ruling conditions, so the statement made here of the I faculties being immediate cause of the visual cognitions should be understood in the relation not to just any I faculty, but to those where the propensity for the arising of the visual cognitions have matured. In connections with this, if you, in minority school, if they think that the I sense powers and the I consciousness and air sense power and air consciousness are both, wholly mature from the potentiality of the imprints, then why do you need to call the I sense power as the dominant condition? Potentials become the causal conditions. Right? There is no need for any dominant condition. Right? So differentiations of the middle and the extreme says the Asanga's text, Uta. The perception of the object of sentience, perception of the object of sentience, and of self-cognitions perceiving these do arises, yet not external object exists. Perception of object of sentience. So perceptions of the object of sentience. So sometimes the Vaibhashika school also use the same language. They call body as sentience. Anything that is directly connected to the consciousness, they call sentient. So why? Because it will kind of result it in your consciousness directly. So any harm or the benefit to the skin is directly the benefit to the consciousness. So if you hit on the table, there's no directly connected, but you think that, oh, this is my table, he broke in my table, then you get upset, right? So the skin, you don't have to think. It's directly just by harming or the benefiting. So that's why it's called sentient. So the perception of the object of sentience and of its self-cognition perceiving those do arises, yet not external or exist. So sense power and the consciousness do arises, but not because of the external object, not because of the color, not because of the sound, not because of smell and taste and text, something outside of the consciousness. The statement that perception of the object, form, and so on, and sentience, the five sense faculties are the sentience, do arises a reference to the foundation consciousness, the master Cittamatra. Master Cittamatra is one of the minority school master. In commenting on this passage, also explain the physical sense organs as the object of foundation consciousness. So, according to the Cittamatra school, which accepts the foundation consciousness, what appears as a physical sense faculty to, foundation consciousness is the eye organ and so on. Now, there's another one, some strange things that the minority school, maybe asserting that, the foundation consciousness, it perceived or the object, the eye consciousness, the ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, even the mental consciousness, all of object appears directly to the foundation consciousness, which means foundation consciousness is always active. And then, so then we ask, is the foundation consciousness sees all the object at once, or or in the sequence order? So this is at once. And then, do they apprehend the particular object? They says no. The foundation consciousness has appears all object for the consciousness, but has no ability to perceive and apprehend any of the object.
So it's omniscience. It's omniscient, but
it's a omniscient in a coma. It sees everything. It cannot discriminate. It cannot discriminate. It cannot label, and it has no ability to apprehend. But it all things appears.
I don't like that answer.
So it seems like a sea of data that
it doesn't
understand it.
So they really things kind of trying to pushing there is self, in the center of your, 5 aggregates. There is the person, there is the self. Maybe the body is not the self, not the person, no eyes, not ear, not nose. But when there is no person at all in the 5 aggregates, which means the person do not exist at all. So the person has to be exist. Then the question is, what is that? Substantial, something that substantially existing of the person is the foundation of consciousness. So they kind of feel comfortable. Oh, now I find myself, and I find myself, and that person is in the coma. It sees everything, has no ability to judge or discriminate.
In a sense, I understand, because it sounds like they're trying to directly pinpoint something.
Yeah.
This is, which is good, because it's trying to say this does exist, but it does so in a way that, like the whole consciousness in a coma thing, it doesn't make sense. It seems,
it's kind of it all the object appears to it, but has no ability to apprehend on any object. It could not recall anything. So it
just makes me think, how does everything happen in the first place?
Because all the consciousness are functioning.
Yeah.
And then it's like a monitor. There is that thing. So all the things appears in your computer, many pictures.
So it's just kind of in a chair.
It's the monitor. It sees everything, but you couldn't. Yeah, that's the minority school. That's why Prasangika school trying to expose the minority school. You are nothing but none of the school. So having thus shown how there exists no faculty of the I, and so on, the separate from the consciousness. Cittamatra stated following to demonstrate that even the material forms do not exist as a separate from the consciousness. So they think again there's the material things, but that material is also the reflection of the consciousness. Otherwise, they have to deny the table, house, and everything. Only the consciousness. So this is when you see the house, yes, there is the house, but that house is no separate from the consciousness. So you consciousness. You say not knowing that perceptions emerge from the senses, such as the simple perception of blue. Not knowing that perceptions emerge from the senses, such as simple perception of the blue, come from their own seed, with nothing outer. What's that? Nothing outer to grasp. People speak of apprehending external object. Comes from their own seed, with nothing outer to grasp. When when you eye consciousness seeing the blues, they say there's no blueness outside. It's just the reflection of the mind. In dreams, where no external form are present, mind assuming their aspect arises from their rapid potentialities. So just as in dreams, in waking state too, the mind exists with no external reality. So maybe there's a two kind of dream, the daydream and night dream. So you say that perceptions emerge from the five senses, such as the simple perception of the blue, come from the maturing of their own seed, the imprints on the foundation of consciousness, with nothing outer, like a blue object, to grasp. Not knowing this, however, worldly people speak of apprehending external objects in place of the consciousness, and accordingly they cling to them as such. But no external reality exists apart from the consciousness. So this, mind-only school standpoint, some master says, when you follow this mind-only school, there's the benefit is not to blame anything. There's nothing to blame anything outside other than your, the potentialities within the mind basis all. I think when you say there is some kind of benefit from the sense standpoint, therefore, you're following the mind-only school, then everything has a benefit. Everything every functional things has a benefit. Even the poisons has a benefit. So poison can convert to the medicine. So does that mean you just go and buy poisons? And sometimes when you have cold, coffee. This where the things that comes flame, right?
Yeah.
Some flames are the colors are very beautiful. So, some like pink like colors, blue like. So it looks good, but so alternatively in dreams where no external forms are present, mind assuming there are aspects such as the form, sound, and so on arises from their rapid imprints or the potentialities. So just as in dream, a waking state too, the mind exists with no external reality. They're pretty much, how to say, convinced that there's nothing outside. Refuting that position, now refuting their positions, if the opponent's urges in the above uh, term, their positions would be untenable to state that this text says refutations since without sight, mental cognitions that perceives blue and so on occur in a dream. Why would such perceptions not arise from its own rapid potential for a blind person without eyes? If this, in the awakened state, you can see the color orange and blue and yellow. So that the color that you see in the kind of awakened time. So it is exactly the same in the night, in the sleep, when you see different colors in the dream. So then, if this is exactly the same, why not the blind man can see sometime, the blue and orange? Because it is nothing to do with our elements. It's all emerged from the potentialities. So the blind person has the foundation consciousness. That foundation consciousness in the blind person has the potentiality, the imprints to see the blue and yellow.
So that's what's confusing, because I feel like when they answer like, oh, well, they don't have the potentiality to see blue or yellow, so that's why they don't see it. Like that's what I would imagine they would respond.
So which means the blind person, the ones the blind, and you have no imprints of to seeing the color.
Mm-hmm, right.
So you have never seen in the past life.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be blind for previous life and that life, previous life. From the beginning, you must be blind. A blind always born as blind.
Right.
So,
mm-hmm.
So someone who is not blind and always not blind.
Right. Yeah. So it's fixed.
So, yeah. So those with sight, no need to see the doctors.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need eyeglasses.
Right.
So you are just designed to be able to see.
It almost is that predetermined.
Yeah.
Like it's predetermined that way.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So this is the kind of the refutation here. Since without the sight, mental cognition that perceives blue and so on occur in the dream. So the daytime, what you see, the color, is exactly the same at nighttime in the dream, what you see. There's no different at all. There's nothing external. So which means, then why not? In that case, why would such perceptions not arise from its rapid potential for the blind persons without eyes? Since without sight, the mental cognition that perceives the blue and so on occur in the dream, why would such perceptions not arise from its rapid potential for an awake awake blind persons without eyes. Why wouldn't it arise exactly as it would in the someone with impaired sight? For insofar as the eye organ is absent, both the dream states, because there's no such thing as the eye organ as a physical apart from consciousness. Right? The blind person is exactly as insofar as the eye organ is absent, both the dream state of sighted person and the waking state of the blind person are exactly the same. The force of the argument stems from the fact that if intrinsically real cognition can arise without any external reality, such as the visible form, then there should be no difference at all between dream and waking state. So the blind person, they can't see in the night, in the dream. So the opponent might respond, the reason why the mental cognitions perceiving the form and so forth with the clarity does not arise for the blind person. So what is their response? The reason why the mental cognition perceiving forms and so forth with clarity does not arise for blind persons. So that is it's not a reason. Along the line, the experience in the dream by the sighted is not due to the absence of I, if us. What then is the reason? The opponent would say it is because of the potential for the occurrence of such mental cognitions has not yet matured. So that is the only thing, not yet matured. So therefore, for someone in whom such potential has matured, associate mental cognitions emerge. Here too, due to the condition of the sleep, the mental cognition exists only in the dreams, not in the waking state. This too is untenable. So it's not mature. We can understand that why the blind person has no condition to mature the potentiality of the eye consciousness. That's the question. Right? Mm-hmm. So we are not saying it has matured, because we also know he cannot see. So what is the obstacle that permanently stop to have an eye consciousness? So is there something that you have put the dam in the potentialities? So say he is the blind person, so these imprints not allowed to mature. So something that permanently stopped, to be able to see. So the reason for us is very obvious, because he has no eye sense power. Right? So my knowledge school says it's not because of the eye sense power. The root text says, if, according to you, there is the ripening potentiality for the sixth consciousness in the dream, but not in the waking blind person, then just as there is no ripening potentiality of the sixth for the blind, why can't one say that it does not exist in the dream either?
You're getting at the sixth consciousness, is that the foundational consciousness?
No. Sixth consciousness is the mental consciousness. So you see, if according to you, there is ripening potentiality for the sixth consciousness in the dream. So that accepted, right? In the dream, people can see without the eye sense power, color in hear the sounds, but not in the awakening blind persons. Then just as there is no ripening potentiality of the sixth for the blind, why can one say that it does not exist in the dream either? It's the same thing.
Right.
You say, like a blind person could not see, see the blue, right? The blue color, I think so. Why the blind persons have no the maturing of eye consciousness, right? So blind person has no maturing of eye consciousness. Same thing. In the dream, there is no possible of maturing of eye consciousness to see the blue. It's the same thing. So if you accept that, like blind person could not see color, and the dream consciousness has no ability to see the color. And if the dream consciousness no ability to see the color, so then in the dream state, there is no possible of occurrence of the maturing of potentiality to see the color. So the Prasanga is called the reverse, that same thing. So this is what we call minority school statement is like you used to refer. The sword with two edges, right? What do you call it?
Double-edged sword.
Huh?
Double-edged sword.
Double-edged sword. So what they trying to establish, that very reason is harming for them.
Mm-hmm.
Double-edged sword, yeah. Having the potential of sixth consciousness, such as which forms of clearness for the blind person, why can't see? So not to do so would be logical. So not to do so would be logical. It's the same thing. One with sight has no one with sight in the dream, in his dream, there's no ripening or potentiality for the consciousness to see the blue because there is no eye functioning. So like the blind person who has no maturing of any eye consciousness from the potentiality. If you say that because of the eye sense power, and then the dream also has no in the dream is eye sense power is inactive, right? So here too, the arguments trades upon the opponent's assumptions of intrinsic essence, which is the object to negate. Now, if you, the opponents, are going to engage in the discourse by relying on the mere words with no, supporting reasons, we too can be content by leaving it at what we have already stated so far. And furthermore, just like with the blind persons, there is no active functioning of the sense organ like the blind persons, right? In the dream, there is no active functioning of sense organ. the basis of the consciousness in the case of seeing and experience during a dream. So the cognitions in that dream state cannot be mental cognitions that has emerged from the maturation of the potentiality associated with perceptual pattern of the visual cognitions that in turn arose dependence on the potentiality called the eye sense organ. So what it says. So it's like, if when we like in ordinary language, when we say the mindfulness school, why the blind person have the eye consciousness cognitions to see the blue, and then they says, oh, that it is not mature yet for the blind person, to have the cognition to see the blue, because it's not really mature yet from the potentialities. Then we will say, and then why in the dream, so you have the cognition, so you have the sixth consciousness to see the blueness that mature from the potentialities. Why? So while the eye sense powers is inactive, no function of eye sense power in the dream, that still can have the cognitions, the mental consciousness to see the blue, which is mature for the potentialities. So why not the blind person can have this consciousness to see the blueness that mature from the potentialities? So if they says, oh no, because they do not have eye sense power. So if that is the reason, and then go back to the person with sight, then dream have no ability to have the perception to see the blue, because there is no eye organs to activate. Right. So just as eyelessness is not the cause for such ripening, so just as eyelessness is not the cause for such ripening in the dream too, such ripening in the dream too, the sleep is not the cause for the such activations. So the eye is not the reasons, right? Inactive eye is not the reason for ripening the perceptions of the blue or the color in a dream. Yeah. So in the dream, the sleep is not the reasoning. Sleeping is not the reasons. So not the cause for such activations. So you must concede, right, that even in the dream side and the object are cause for false subject.
That's, they're saying intrinsic, a lack of misperception of seeing truly existence. Because Cittamatra always, they profess that the consciousness is true, truly exists. That didn't come out well.
That there is some intrinsic existence to consciousness. That type of mind basis of all is intrinsic.
Well, they're saying, is it in this last line, are they saying that just like in the dream state, the objects are not truly exist, they're false, or they're false because we see them as truly existent? Is that
In the root text?
I'm looking at the root text, yeah. The last line.
So here, in Tibetan, Chitra Mime Di Jumitans. So in the dream, the consciousness, or the sixth consciousness, the mental consciousness, see the colors. It is not conditioned by the eye sense organ. So without eye, you can still have the sixth consciousness to see the color. Right? So, so without eye, you can have a sixth consciousness to see the color, because eye organ is not the condition for that. And then this is teacher milam tuyen tengwe mik zumbe. Teacher milam tuyen tengwe mik. So milam tuyen ni the jumayis. Milam tuyen ni the jumayis. In the dream, the sleep is not the condition. Sleep is not the condition to have the sixth consciousness to see the color. So, if the eye sense power is not the reason, right? Eye sense power is not the condition to have the perception of the blue. Eye consciousness not the condition for the perception of the blue. So then in the dream, the sleep is not the condition for the perception of the blue in the dream. Right. So then the question is, in the dream, without the eye sense power, you can have a perception of the blue. And so in the daytime, the blind persons, without the eye sense powers, why not he can have a perception of the blue? So here the mig member seven longwantina Chandrakirti paja mimba gun member chitawa tether milam to yini. So there's two things. So the blind persons could not have the perceptions of the blue is not because of the eye, right? Not because of the eye. The blind person to have the perception of the blue is not because of the eye, right? It's not because of the eye. If it's because of the eye, he could not have the perception of the blue. In the dream, you cannot have perception of blue when the eye is inactive, right? So gyumya bachita milam to yinis tönanga pajan gyuma intense. So then, in the sleeping, sleep is not the condition. Sleep is not the condition for the perception of the blue in the dream, right? So the blind persons in the daytime and could not have the perception of blue is not because of the he has no eye. And similarly, the sleeping is not the condition, should not be the condition to have the perception of the blue. Right? So now this is a little bit more kind of, so now this is saying that if there is now kind of the Prasangika school, the Prasangika school is trying to, the mind-only school to expose, more, more in the, the mind-only, the Prasangika school trying to expose the mind-only school is incomplete. So it says, so now the question is, the blind persons have no perception of the blue is you accept. It's not because of he has no eye. Right? So then the sleep is not the condition to see the blue, to have a blue perception in the dream. So now that implies that anything in the blue consciousness, the consciousness to see the blue, it arises by itself. So when it arises by itself, so then why it's always kind of, has to be mature from the potentialities. The sleeping is not the condition to have the perception to dream of blue. Sleeping is not the condition to dream of blue. And the blind is not the condition to not to have the perception of the blue. So, which means the blind person could not see that, and the person with sight can see. Now it's almost like it's determined by the consciousness itself. It's a nature, So when you say everything is by nature, and why every consciousness has to mature from the potentialities? So this is almost you're going back, and when you try to bring that in the more kind of obvious level, then almost like the Prasangika school says, so when I reasoned with you, are you saying, oh, from the rice always comes rice. From the barley it comes barley, tomato. There's no argument. So you are just kind of, almost like 100% blind in whatever I reason out. You just don't get it. So you are just, finally you're saying, this is the natural, From the rice, there's the rice sprout. From the barley seed, there's a barley sprout. So he's the blind, he cannot see. And that person with sight, they can see. So almost like eye consciousness, the consciousness are the reason, are the, they're determined by themselves to be able to see or not. So if this is what you kind of, it's your standpoint, and why you say that every consciousness has to mature from the potentialities. So when you go to that level, then I can see how you go wrong. So
every perception is maturing from the potentialities. You cannot deny the blind person has a potentiality to see. Right? So the blind person once had the eye consciousness, maybe this life or previous life or another life. So that every consciousness, eye consciousness, when it sees, go back to the foundational consciousness as an imprints, as a potentialities. So that therefore the blind persons are not excluding for have the to have the potentiality of the eye consciousness. The blind person has the potential, and the person with sight, they too have a potential. So when the both has equally the potentials, what stops the blind person to maturing the potential of eye consciousness? What allowing the sight person always can have the eye consciousness, not the blind? Because and then if you say, oh, the blind person no eye, so then same thing. There is no maturing from the potentiality to have the perceptions of the blue in the dream, because there is no eye. Right? So if you completely say, now you could say, oh, this is very natural, like from the mango tree, there's a mango, no orange, and the orange tree, the orange. If you say that, then you're actually exactly saying that the consciousness determined by themselves. So in that case, if the consciousness by itself maturing, and why it is depending on the potentiality. So so children member Shivaran YouTube in the Pajan member in the Dubichir, Kankishir Paja Zubale, Paja Zubale Milamji, Tanami Shiva Zubakevas, teach the Milam to Tengwe Mik, Jimbe Yujent of Gurkenals. Teach Milam to Sebe Kaptabu, Yujumo Susus now number Shiva Zubata, Milamji. Mik topate number shape good des then to give a kernel channels. So I think the same thing, is the person with sight, to have the perception of the blue is not because of the eye sense power, but you still have eye sense power. We still have eye sense powers. Eye sense power is not conditioning to have the eye consciousness. Eye consciousness and eye sense powers is simultaneously, inseparably existing. Right? So the same thing, so like you are saying, this potential, the potentialities within the foundational consciousness, maturing in the eye consciousness, which is feel like there's the blue in the outside. So that object that you see, the blue is unreal, is false, So now that maybe in the dream, there is you are dreaming to seeing the color, the blue. Maybe at that time there is there is the eye consciousness with eye sense power. So is in the awakening state, the eye sense powers is not So I think Prasangika school trying to say, in that case, maybe you can, there's no false to say there's the eye sense power in the dream. There's the eye organ in the dream. There's no eye, there's eye consciousness in the dream. Because in the awakening state, the eye consciousness, and there's no such thing as the eye organ that is a conditioning for eye consciousness. Just simply being able to see the blue. And that's completely and totally mature from the potentialities. There's nothing to do with something outside. And in the dream, there's nothing outside but still can see. Why not you say there's the eye consciousness and eye sense power in the dream? So both are false. In the daytime it is false, and nighttime is false. So therefore, in the dream, like sum dubas, three factors together, like a daytime, eye sense power, eye consciousness, and the color, rather. And the nighttime, there is the color and eye sense power and eye consciousness. If there's in the daytime, you think there's three factors together, and you also accept that in the dream there's the three factors. So what is the wrong with that? Because you don't need the real eye sense power, which is conditioning for the eye consciousness. You don't need real blueness to reflect to the sense power.
Happening.
Huh?
It's all happening in the mental.
Yeah, if you think everything is just mind, and in the daytime it's just mentally see, nighttime just mentally see, And right now there's eye organ, eye sense power, and the color. That are all false. There is nothing separate exists. And the same thing in the dream. There's nothing separate exists. If you accept that there's the daytime, there's the blue and sense power and eye consciousness, three things together, and why not you can accept in the dream time there's the blueness and sense power and eye consciousness. So why you need to say is the sixth consciousness maturing from the potentialities. So so minority schools, they're kind of, they're best example in the dream consciousness, seeing the blueness, is how how mistaken, the dream consciousness, the seeing the blueness is the best example to refute the external, because there is no blue external in the dream. Same thing in the waking state, there is nothing, no blue in the outside. So in that case, in the dream, you have to say there is the eye sense power, the nose sense power, ear sense power, tongue sense power, the body sense power, all of them in the dream. So then you cannot make a distinctions. What is the awake state and what is the dream state? if you find there's a difference in the waking state and the dream state, and the dream, the objects do not exist, but the consciousness simply mature from the imprints, and the daytime is different. Daytime's consciousness are depending on the external reality. Then give up that the mind only or the mere consciousness. So not everything is not, I would say, everything is not maturing from the consciousness. So these kind of, when you Prasangika school, precisely pinpointing how they go wrong, and minority schools, masters, when they understand, then they kind of, they move forward to the middle school. So, this is the, how's that? There's something, they should leave that standpoint. So the discussion is very important. The Vedic traditions, there's not much discussions. It is all kind of, someone who experienced and there's someone who thought already, make up in their mind. It just delivers to you with stories, and you just follow that stories. And if the master is not maybe 50% understand, the disciple will 10% understand. So then continue to reduce the quality of the knowledge. And then finally the followers become just physical. They just bow and do things, the ritual things. I think that's the, yeah.
So Prasangika is saying that if a blind person cannot see the blue, then that sort of negates the fact that it is rising from by itself from the foundational.
It's not that easy. Yeah,
Not that easy.
Prasangika schools say, why not the blind person can have the perception of the blue?
Mm-hmm.
Because it simply need to mature for the potentiality. The potentiality of the blue, perception of the blue is contained within the foundation consciousness, the blind person. So why not the blind person have a perception of the blueness? Because they have the potential. And the potential to mature the perception of the blue is not relying on any external reality, external object, not relying on the external sense organ. So why not a blind person can have the perception of the blue? And then says, oh, the blind person has no eye. And then again says, in the dream, person with sight in the dream should not have the perception of the blue in the dream because there is no eye organ. In the minority school, what is, for the defense, the minority school has, so the blind person has not yet matured the potentiality of the blue perceptions. And the person with sight has matured. And another question is, what is that stopping for the blind person to have the perception of the blue? What is the obstacle? So what is the things that is preventing?
Which goes into what you were then saying, that if consciousness matures by itself,
Yeah,
then why?
So why the blind person? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Mind only has to think about a little deeper.
Maybe one blind person is hardly take shower, therefore. So,
It seems like it all kind of comes back to the fact that if you're claiming that the mind basis of all is intrinsic, that is,
yeah.
if you're claiming that something is intrinsic, then nothing should be able to affect it or change it or do anything. It is.
Yeah, if you the Prasangika school says that everything, every the how they go wrong is just because of there are they're holding the intrinsic quality. So once you think there's any intrinsic, and then there's always your perception go go mistaken. So I think from this, they pretty much explain that the I consciousness in the daytime or waking state, the I consciousness, and the dream I consciousness, or the dream consciousness, the seeing the colors and the forms, the hearing the sounds, So is it because of there is no I sense power, there is no there's no color to see, there's no color is casting its image to the sense power. So therefore the dream consciousness, which appears the color, is mistaken. There is no color to see, but it reflects in their mind as a color. In the daytime, yes, this is unmistaken. It is not really there is the color that casts its image to the sense power and generates the I consciousness. So the I consciousness, there is the causal conditions that is previous I consciousness that is left the imprints, or there is the continuum of the consciousness. That continuum consciousness and the sense powers join together and engage in the object. Then the I consciousness happens. So therefore, there is external reality. There is the I sense powers that is conditioning for the I consciousness, and which means, external color with sense power, without I consciousness possible. There is the color that reflects to you, but still you could not generate I consciousness. Yeah. So that proves the I consciousness, is depending on, immediately preceding condition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe because when you're so focused on something else, your mind is reflecting something else. So that's why, there is the color, there is the I sense power, I is open, but could not generate the I consciousness. Right. So there is the sound, there is the ear sense powers, right? Actively there. There is the sound is there, but you could not hear the sound. So that means there is, sound and the sense power and another conditions, immediately preceding conditions. So mind has to reflect, a little bit kind of glance, right, on that, just a little bit concentrate, then the air consciousness happens. So the immediately preceding conditions is required. So in the dream, there's a mental consciousness, they're continuing the consciousness, but there's no sense power, there's no external object So therefore, there is no sensual perception to having seen the colors. So in the sutra, Buddha mentioned clearly that make the solid and make a number of cues. Buddha says the eye consciousness is generated through form and the sense power. So the form and the sense powers, like sometimes they say, or like eye consciousness is the, took birth by depending on the object and the sense powers, like mother and fathers. Color and sense power is the father and mothers. As a child, the eye consciousness is born. So eye consciousness give birth by the external object and the sense power. So there must be external object. The external, I think, here is something the elementally constructed or conditioned form. So the color is, now Prasangika school, if you say, if the color is 100% elementally formed functional things. So it means Prasangika school already says that the color to be color as a color. It's conditioned by, or it's created. One of the conditions is the sense power, and then the lights and the form in space. So now the question is, if the color is, conditioning the eye consciousness, and the color has conditioned by the sense power. So if you do not have this eye sense power with color, something that can reflect the colors. Some eye sense power could not reflect the color. So there was a color blind, but they could see, but it's color blind. The color is conditioned, looks like, conditioned is not 100% from the sense power. It is also conditioned by the lights and space and form. So I think, so when you look at the, in that kind of the, what do you call the entanglement of this kind of, the world of this perception and perceived object. So it's like there's nothing coming from one side, right? Nothing coming from one side. That the very thing, the color that you see is conditioned by the sense power and the lights and the form and the space. And that, from that, there's the color that casts its image to the sense power. So then the eye consciousness. So the eye consciousness is relatively, generated, and the sense powers is relatively, it receives the image of the color. So relatively received means, it is very hard to say the eye sense power is conditioning the color. So if eye sense power is the conditioning the color, so usually it's not like in the order. First eye sense power happen, then the color happen. So the eye sense power is the conditioning color. that the very condition in the color is the time of the reflecting, the color reflecting the sense power. So there's before the eye consciousness being developed, there is the sense power and the color as connections. So when that connections, that and then it catch by the immediate preceding condition, mental consciousness, and then right away the eye consciousness generated. Yes, it feels like your whole existing is full optical illusions. So your existing, that you as a person and the body and those kind of heat and the winds and all the energies, and then outside, there's a light and so maybe it says the gravitations, maybe this. I think that there's so many things, how's that? It creates many objects. And it creates many objects means not just because of the element. That involves the consciousness, within that element. So then it creates so many things. And then it appears to the consciousness and different identities, right? Different identities from the top, the ears, that there's the sound, and the nose, the smell, the taste, and textures, and then from the colors. So if you try to pinpoint, this is how the eye consciousness comes. This is how the color comes. You cannot pinpoint one factors. Yeah, any questions?
The sense power and the eye consciousness stuff kind of makes it seems a little tricky because I can understand how the immediately preceding condition for being able to see now is the previous moment, and then how sense power, I kind of take that to mean how there's a difference between seeing and then like the eyes are able to see, but they're not the exact same thing. It's like they serve the function of seeing, but seeing is not the eyes. I know that this is all the example for like the Cittamatra school and kind of how they're saying, it's intrinsic and all that, but this is something that always it seems a little sometimes confusing, maybe because there's so many like steps to it. But how I'm understanding is that there's the sense power that perceives an object in some way, and then there's the mental perception that's formed from that interaction that labels or defines it. And then from there, in this case, there's eye consciousness, because the mental
perception, the mental perception identifies that sense power as, oh, this is this through this sense power? Okay. It's a lot of words, actually.
And the common, how's that? And the common language or common sense.
Mhm.
So everybody thinks that, that there's something outside.
Yeah.
So when you want to see, your eyes kind of focus on things outside.
Mhm.
So, and then also when you try to see things, we use the light, flash. So it means there's something. You are not looking inside. You are looking outside. So that's Prasangika school. So that's the idea of external. It's not internally looking. It is externally looking. So there is you can have the perceptions by externally, seeing, the hearing, smelling, and taste, externally. So Prasangika school, the idea of the external is just inside, your internal looking at, or internal listening, or listening outside. So the Prasangika school, that's why the idea of the external, but we don't really, think that external phenomena, external object like a color, has something independent identity. It is not exist, or it is not arise by itself. That very color that is we call external is not the color that exists by itself. Color is the creations from many factors together. So it is not truly intrinsically there, but the consciousness, have the perception of the color by looking outside.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the idea. Only that idea is external.
Mm-hmm.
It's not talking about there's something outside independently done, and that perceived by the consciousness. So the Siddhantika school and those non-religious external means it has to be done by particles, by collectings.
Mm-hmm.
It's 100% done by outside and then perceived by the inner consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
The Prasangika school, there's nothing. Even the outside sea is also the condition by the inner elements, the inner sense power, inner consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So, but to see, there's things that you dream and you don't look outside. You can just totally wrap the blanket and you just, you can see all the images.
Mm-hmm.
Elephant and horses, and you can see in a dream. So you're not externally looking at it. So when you wake up, when you open eye, you stare at something outside and you see things. So that's like listening, like the external. So the external is the term external is the way the consciousness, the focus, inner or outer. So outer is the external. In Ayah, there was in the 400 stanzas there. So if there's something outside, like a sound that is intrinsic, if there's sound that intrinsic, sound has intrinsic quality, then sound has to be one single intrinsic form has to travel from someone's mouth to touches to your eardrum. So which means there's someone is coming, running towards you, calling your name. So when you examine how sound has been generated, there is no, so for example, if there is someone called Tenzi Sherabs, calling for someone's, the sound is first coming from someone's mouth, and that sound that is produced from someone's mouth, that is intrinsic, and without changing, it has to run to the eardrum. Kick the eardrum because you want to listen or not. So, and then that sound should not be, have any changes. So usually someone makes the noise, and then when it reaches you, it's a little bit, it deteriorating, disintegrating, right? Small and small. So that sound should not have that kind of change, if independent sound. So this is like, you send your, that person is, like 2 feet or 3 feet long, the person, then he sends someone to call you. Their children, or the mother sends the child to call the father. The son is going towards the father. Mm-hmm. So then, the son will kind of, touch you. Hey, his mother is calling you. Mm-hmm. So in that case, in this way, the sound has to travel. So there is no one individual sound. There's a traveling from someone's mouth to your eardrum. So when the sound is not continuing in this way, so the sound has to be, constantly created. Create and die, and create and die, create and die. So the basis to make that noise, the noise that coming from your mouth is when you go out, it die. And then that another level of the 4 elements, that kind of, 4 elements that kind of, so that, that hits the vibration on that, and that make noise again, that die again. And then another, the elements has to be supported to make the similar noise. So the less vibrations, the less noise coming. So the sound do not have this. So this is why, there is no external realities do not exist intrinsic. So it's all instantly, advantageously created and die and create and die. So usually, and then it says, sound do not continue as the same type. Sound do not continue as the same type. So for us, the morning to the afternoon, same times we continue. Sound has no same continuing, same type continuing. It's all different. Every second. So milk to the yogurt is the same type continuing. The sound do not continue same type.
So each moment of sound is its own.
Has a new cosmic condition.
And then
each sound, each moment they have new cosmic condition.
It's like the preceding sound is the cause for the next preceding sound.
Yes, yeah. This is like, we call in the racing game. There's someone brings a stick.
Baton, passing the baton.
Baton, yeah. So this sound is like that. It's just the one thing run and he stops, another goes. That stops, another goes. Mm-hmm. So it's not same types continuing. So whatever the first sound coming from the person's mouth, It's died long before. You know. So this is why they say the sound do not, do not goes or do not leave any imprint. The consciousness has imprint, sound do not have imprints.
And sound goes out in many directions too, right? So
Yeah, that depends. So every moment of the sound is produced from the new elements. So new elements can be many things. Some elements, for here, when I make noise from the house, maybe the elements here in the house is very balanced. When it go out, and the outside elements is more rough, it can easily, destroy that sound, the quality of the sound. So that's why this sound do not continue as the same type. So, but still we say externals because it's, it is born from many the elements, outside elements, and that is, collectively produced. Those elements are independent of the consciousness. So elements do not mature from or the ripening from the consciousness. So you stop here. 225. Chanju Simjo Rinpoche, Maje Bana, Jeju, Jeba Nyamba, Meba, Kondo, Tonya Tawa Rinpoche, Maje Bana, Jeju, Jeba Nyamba, Meba, Kondo, Hama Simjan Tamjen, Deta Denju, Yendro Tamche Tabu, Tona, Chanju Simba, Kama Sushu, Teta Kunji, Molam Jukjuruchi, Karera Rokovi, Shingazo, Penda, the woman, Jereza, Tinzinja, Shabe Side Bado, Denjuruchi.
May the precious Bodhi mind not yet one rising grow. May that one have no decline but increase forevermore. May the precious mind realizing emptiness not yet one rising grow. May that one have no decline but increase forevermore. Due to all these merits, may all Father and Mother sentient beings have all the happiness, and may all the lower realms be empty forever. Wherever there are Bodhisattvas, may all their prayers be accomplished immediately. In the sacred land surrounded by snow mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. O powerful Chandrakirti and Gyatso, remain in this world until samsara ends.
Thank you very much.